What's up, everyone? Everyone's Matt Mrozik, and this will be work in progress number 3 on Thor. So yesterday we got the base done, got the cape done, got the blue on the legs done, got, what else did we get done? We got something else done. Is that it? That's it. I also went ahead and base coated the skin tones last night. I didn't show that on video. So today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to work on getting the wings painted, and then we'll work on the rest of Thor's outfit. What I didn't show is, first thing I did today is I masked off the blue and sprayed black paint on the suit, or the rest of his body. And I also sprayed the legs or the boots with black, where that's going to be black. So once that's dry, I'll bring those on camera and we'll do some shading on them and get that knocked out. And hopefully I can get, I would like to try to get the rest of his outfit done today. If I can do that, then I'm in really good shape for skin tones. I think skin tones will take me at least a day, if not 2 days to do. So the wings, we got 6 wings, right? 2, 4, 6. These have already been cleaned. So I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna start off by airbrushing on some, excuse me. I think I'm gonna start out, I'm gonna work dark to light, because I like to work a lot. And I think I'm going to start off with some craft paint here. Maybe... no, I take that back. I'm going to spray on some white, and then I'll do a wash. So, again, this is kind of how my brain works. I just kind of go back and forth. So let's do a warm white. This is semi-transparent warm gray. Let's do pure white. Let's get this going. Put a glove on, because there's no good way to handle these really, because there's nowhere to clip them or anything. 2 of them have a spot I could put a clip on, but the other 4 don't. The way they go on the heads, so I have to hold these by hand. And one thing I'm really bad about is putting gloves on when I paint, and at the end of the day, my hands are all tore up with paint and stuff, and people ask me, what's wrong with your hands? Like, oh, I'm a painter. They're full of paint. The fingernails look dirty. It's kind of like when I used to paint cars for a living. My hands are always all tore up. Okay, so enough of me talking. Let's spray some paint. I'm just going to get... I also need to sit down and clean airbrushes. So actually, let's start off with this warm gray. Let's see what this does. The GarageKids.us semi-transparent warm gray. And we're going to spray this on. My airbrush turned up a little bit from yesterday on spraying the skin base coat. I sprayed a Vallejo paint thin, and it was pretty thick, so I was having to kind of force it through the airbrush. I'm going to paint the trim part of these metal. But I got to get the feathers done first. And this is thin paint, so you got to put it on pretty light. You got to build it up slowly. But it dries relatively quick. Alright, so I'm going to do this, and then we'll come back once I get both sides sprayed. Okay, and I'm going to follow up with some semi-transparent pure white, just to lighten things up a little bit. I'm not worried about 100% opacity on this. I'm just kind of tinting things right now. So I'm going to do a wash, so it'll darken down quite a bit. And I don't like the feathers to be pure white anyway. I think they should have a little warm kind of tint to them personally. So we'll achieve that with the wash for the most part. And I don't mind seeing a little bit of the gray through. I'll just give it some tonal variation. Again, it's real light. I'm not worried about 100% coverage. You can get 100% coverage with these semi-transparent paints. You just got to put on a lot. I mean, they're pretty thin. So I'll have to seal these, let these dry for a few minutes, and I'll seal them. And then we'll come back and do a wash on them. Like a brown wash, maybe a brownish tannish wash. And I'll get in all those nooks and crannies of the feathers. And so I'm going to finish this up and I'll seal them and we'll come back. Okay, so I just want to seal these, let them dry for a minute or so, and we're going to do a wash. So what I got in my cup here is I got some Vallejo sepia ink, and I added some water to it, so it's super runny now. And let's see what this does. Just going to put this in here. Just kind of let it run into all the feathers. Maybe too watery. I have some more of this. There, add a little more ink to it. I could have done ink by itself, but I want it pretty runny. There we go. That's the consistency I wanted. If you make it too runny, it just beads up, and it just beads up on the surface. So I'll do one side. And then I'll let it dry for a little bit, and I'll flip it over and do the other side. Like that. Make sure I get the tips and everything. It's going into all those details really nicely. I'm not worried about this trim that's going to get painted later, at the very end, last thing. And once it dries, I can look at it and I can always do another layer of wash if I want to. So this is doing two things. It's getting into all the details and staining the initial paint color, so it warms it up a little bit, and then we start dry brushing. We'll bring up the highlights. Oops. It's okay if it gets on the backside a little bit. We're gonna flip these over in a few minutes and do the back side. See what it looks like, and then we'll seal it. And then we'll start dry brushing. Probably start dry brushing with a very, very light tan, and then kind of working my way up to white. Again, I don't want these stark white. I want them to have a little tone to them. Just because I'm not a fan of pure white feathers. It's kind of boring. So I'll show you this. Do these on. I'll show you one side, and then the other side is going to be the same way. You can see I'm just putting on, not being real careful, just kind of slopping it on, letting it do its thing. And hopefully by the time I get the feathers done, I can. The black will be dry on the body and the legs. I can do the highlighting on that. It's looking pretty good. One more. I don't need to show you all these, but since we're here, we're going to just do it. I'm going back and kind of seeing a few little areas on the first ones that Use a little bit more. As it dries and runs through the cracks, sometimes you got to go back and kind of hit a few little spots. Because through capillary action that's running in all the details. And sometimes it just kind of wicks its way out of areas. So I go back and hit those areas again. All right, so you get the idea. So I'm gonna let these dry for a little bit. I'll flip them over, do their side, and seal them, and then we'll come back. Okay, we're gonna be bouncing around a lot again today. So while the wing's dry from the wash, I can start to do the highlighting on the black. So I just taped this off this morning, hit this off with some Krylon flat black, and it's dried now for 30 minutes or so, and it looks really good. So a lot of these I paint up, I see paint up, the black's just solid, which is kind of boring. So we're gonna add some highlighting to it, and then we'll tie it all together. So it's gonna look a little funky at first, because I tend to highlight black with a little bit of blue. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna mix up kind of a custom highlight color here. This is a Mr. Color Intermediate Blue. This actually this might be the right. Let's see. This actually might be perfect. I was gonna. Yeah, I think I'll add a little clear blue to this just to. So this is intermediate blue. I don't need a lot of this. And add a little clear blue to it. Just to pump up the tone just a hair. So this is kind of like my highlight color here. So it's kind of blue. And it's gonna be very, very subtle. We still want it to look black, but we want it to have some shape. So we're gonna do this. Okay. That should be pretty good. Because that's a lot of black on the surface to not do anything with it. I'm gonna pause 1 second. All right, sorry, I had to blow my nose. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that air pressure down. Throw this in airbrush. Okay, so I'll just do a little bit on camera, and I'll do the rest off, and actually I can show you probably on a boot. So it's interesting. So looking at the paint up, obviously the wraps go yellow and the bottom part of the boat goes yellow, but I thought initially this part would go black because it's the same texture as this up here, but it's not. So basically from here down is yellow, and then all these little areas in between are black. So I'm doing the black first so I can mask that off and do the yellow after I get the black done. So again, we're just gonna come in here and it's a little over thin maybe. We'll have to add some more paint to it. We'll see. Excuse me, my nose is running. So I'm just gonna highlight the whole leg, like as if I'm highlighting without the wraps on. And the big calf muscle right here. So we'll bring this up quite a bit, and then we're gonna mist some We'll go back in with black and just very lightly mist over it to bring it back down. But in the end, you should see just a little bit of highlighting in the black. Got a little too much thinner in here. Gotta be careful because I've already started highlighting. I don't want to add any more paint to this. It's a custom mix, so gotta be careful. It's hard to highlight things that are covered in other fabrics, like these wraps can make it kind of hard to see where I gotta go with this, but so that's kind of it on that boot. So you can see that we got kind of some shading going on, and then we'll knock it down by misting some black on real lightly. So I'm going to do that on the other boot and the torso, and then we'll come back. Alright, so I got the highlighting done. Now what I'm going to do is I got some Mr. Color GX Black in my airbrush, and I'm just going to go and kind of hit the shadows a little bit before we start mixing this and blending this in, especially kind of between wrinkles and things. Just real light. This is pretty potent stuff, and I don't want to lose my shading. I'm going to bring out some of these muscles a little bit more because of the overspray and stuff. Just a little bit. Like so. Now, back off and very lightly mist this on. And it's going to be to the point where I just think I've covered up the blue a little bit. This is going on very, very light. And you probably won't be able to really see it in camera, but in person it'll show up pretty well, I think. It's kind of like what I did on the Spider-Man I did last year, the Franco Carlesimo Spider-Man I did, where he's standing on top of the building. Did the same thing. And in person you can really see the highlighting. It's very, very subtle. And again, I just don't want, black with no shape to it, so we're going to add a little bit of shading to it. I'm just very lightly misting this on. And basically, what I've done, when it's the point where I don't think I can see the highlight anymore, is when I stop. And it'll just be very, very subtle in person. That's right about where it needs to be. And if I kind of overdo in a spot, I can go back to my highlight color, hit the highlight again, and then blend it back in, but it's looking pretty good. So I'm not sure if you can see that in camera. I think that's about right. I try to avoid using gray to highlight black. It just dulls it down. So I try to use like a blue tone. That's right where I need to go. So I'm going to do that to the rest of the pieces, then we'll seal it. We'll come back and take a look. Again, you may not be able to see it in camera, but I can see it here. Okay, so moving back to the feathers. Sealed these. I'm going first over with dry brush and some ochre brown. Kind of a mustardy kind of yellow color, and just super light. And you really can't see a whole lot what's going on here. But again, just real light, just using kind of the flat part of the brush to do this. And then we're going to start going in with white. So this is just doing something very subtle. That's still kind of wet. We have to reseal that side. That side's still wet for some reason. All right, let's go back and reseal that one. Not the end of the world. My sealer did some weird things here. I don't know. I may have to revisit doing the wash on some of this and resealing it. We'll see. So this is just kind of shifting the color a little bit more towards a warmer kind of tan color. Okay, that's going to work. If I just do that, okay. Just thinking to myself. And that one that was a little wet. I had another one I just kind of went over and it kind of did what I wanted to do. This one. Okay, this one here, I'm just going to do this. I think it'll be fine. Yeah, that actually works out pretty well. Sometimes you just kind of go with the flow and see what happens. Just want to make sure I've got some wash down in those details. I may have just forgotten to seal that one on that side. All right, so we're gonna do this. I have them the hair dryer and then seal them again. And then we're gonna start kind of coming in here with white and start bringing these up again. Kind of messy looking right now, but we're gonna get there. Okay, so I sealed those, and now I'm going on with some just straight white, and I'm gonna slowly start building up these highlights. And again, I'm just using the flat part of the brush. And starting to bring out all these details. And the more times I go over it, the brighter I'll get, and the more of those details will come out. So I'm not going to do a whole lot of this on camera again, because it's just, again, this over and over again. Just make sure your brush has very little paint on it, and slowly build it up. Don't try to do it all at once, because you'll get paint in all those areas where you got the wash, and then you're back to square one. So just slowly do it, and hit the tips the hardest. If those go pure white, that's okay. So I'm going to go back and forth on those tips to bring those nice and bright. And then if you want those to get a little brighter and kind of fade into this part, dry brush this way, and you'll create some natural shading, because the paint will be brighter here and a little darker going in this direction. Do the other side. Again, take most of my paint off. I'm going to start off with the flat part of the brush. And come from the tips towards this part, like that. And that's looking really, really good. And I got some paint here on my paper towel. Just pick up some more of that. And just keep building it up till you get the look you want. Again, I want the tips to go pretty much pure white, so I'm going to hit those really hard. And then I'm dry brushing from the tip in this way, and then this part will be a little brighter, and it'll get a little darker towards this area, which I think will look nice. My feathers have a nice warm tone to them after doing that wash, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want just white feathers. They come across as white, but they got a nice warm undertone. So I'm going to do this for the rest of them. We'll seal it. And then depending on how this feels, I might have to do a little light sanding, but then we'll paint the trim. Okay, so I sent a picture of the feathers to my client. He seems to like it. He wants to see it on a helmet. But before I do that, I'm going to paint the trim metal. So I mixed up a little Vallejo metal color exhaust manifold, and I added a little bit of silver to it. And we're going to see what this looks like. This may be a little on the dark side, but I want this to look not so bright. I want it to look like chrome or shiny. I want it to be a little down, since we got kind of that weathering going on. So I may have to do this just off camera, because I need to really put on my optivisor. Actually going on just the color I want. It looks a little dark in my cup, but I think it's the right color. You gotta be careful with these paints, because they're a little runny, and I don't want them to wick into the feather. So just a couple, usually 1 or 2 coats of this, and it goes on pretty good. It covers pretty well. It's like 2 coats is going to do it. So that's the look we're going to go for. Okay, so while the wings dry, I'm going to go ahead and this is dried for about an hour and a half. I'm going to silly putty around the discs. Usually don't use silly putty a lot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to silly putty around these discs, if I can spit it out. And I'm going to spray on the Vallejo liquid metal silver, the same I used on the helmets. And then I'm going to do a wash on them again because they have this really nice intricate detail going around the edge here. So just to show you how I silly putty, try to get as thin as I can. And I typically will put it a little away from the edge that I'm trying to silly putty to. And then I'll use a couple tools to kind of get it as close as I can. And luckily, since this is black, any little mess ups I do, I can always just touch up with a little bit of black paint and vice versa with the silver. So I thought about hand painting these, but I want to get a nice smooth finish on these. And I think I can get pretty damn close. I like to use this tool a lot because I can, I got to clean it off unfortunately. It's a hard tool and I can push the silly putty pretty thin right up to the edge. So I'm going to do this because this will take me a while to silly putty off. I think I'll hold off on trying to do any yellow until tomorrow. I thought I could try to get it done. I really want this black to dry when I need to use masking tape on that. So once I get this all silly putty, we'll come back. Okay, so we got that all silly putty. I'm going to lower my air pressure here and we're going to spray on, we're spraying on, let me put the lid on, I don't spill this everywhere. Vallejo silver liquid metal. And I'm just going to go in real tight because I don't have the whole body masked off. And we're just going to spray this on. I actually see a little trash there, so I'm going to try to get that out with a super fine sanding sponge. I'm just taking a little, can't see it, but ultra-fine super sanding sponge. Ultra-fine sanding sponge. I'm just wetting it a little bit with some saliva and trying to get that little piece of trash out. And I thought I saw one more right here. So this is an effort to just try to keep these as clean as possible. All right, let's see how it looks. Get up my air pressure a little bit. Yeah, but just a hair. So this is the same silver I used on the helmets. So on those I just dry brushed it on. And if I got any touch-ups around the edges, I can do that. Or after I take the silly putty off, it'll touch up just fine. I got my air pressure real low and I'm just spraying close because I don't have the whole body masked off. Typically on an airbrush I mask everything else off just because I'd rather spend the time and energy to mask everything off and reduce the chance of overspray. Okay, so just like that, and we'll let that dry, and then I'll take the silly putty off, I'll seal it again, and then we'll do a wash on the details.
Which I always found interesting.
All right, so here is feathers on the helmet. Looks good. I'm going to send pictures to my client so you want to see what it looks like, and I'm really digging that. So I just got done spraying that silver on the chest. I had a little touch-up to do on the black. We'll let that dry and do a wash, and then we'll come back. Okay, well, I thought I was going to seal the metal first, but I'm going to go ahead and do a wash on this. So I mixed up kind of what I did yesterday with the helmet. It's kind of a little bit of it's a miniature ghost brown and black, and I add just a little bit of water to this. And we're just going to go in here and do a pin wash on these details. And I'm going to try to keep it relatively neat because I don't want to get stuff everywhere. So I'm going to get one. There we go. Kind of a fine tip brush. We'll come down. I'll show you here. So let's go in here and just real selectively kind of hit around these details. Just like that, and then am I out of hobby cube tips? I may be. Where'd they go? Crap. Oh shit! Don't know where my Q-tip thing is. Then if I go in here real lightly with some moistened Q-tip, I can wipe off the excess. It's very lightly damp. Looks like that. So I'm going to continue to do that, then we'll come back. Okay, so that's done on the chest and it looks really good. So I think as far as this part goes, I'm done for the day. Like I said, I need to be able to mask off the belt to do the yellow, and I want that black dry, I want the silver dry. So that's it for this. And I don't know, I think that may be it for the day on this work in progress, because I don't want to start the skin tones unless I can kind of finish them. And I can't do the hammer till after the skin tones. So this might be it for the work in progress. Just the black, the silver, the feathers. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'm going to call this work in progress done. And then the next one will be doing the yellow on the boots and the belt and finishing that up. And then we'll start on skin tones. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one.